will best serve you in life. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. Mahatma Gandhi. There are 3 main steps to the triple column method. Step 1. Train yourself to recognize and write down the self-critical thoughts as they go through your mind. Step 2.
So I really like this activity. Like, totally, literally try this if you're someone that feels like they struggle with oh, okay. I was like, why did my music stop? If you're someone that feels like you struggle with your self-esteem on a day-to-day basis, literally start to like, you could do it if you have like a journaling practice. I did journaling for a couple of months. I don't currently do a regular journaling practice, but if you're someone that does like maybe a nightly or daily journaling practice, rewind through the day or as you go throughout your day and start to like write down and note like, okay, what are the negative thoughts that are coming up, and kind of follow through on this activity. I promise it'll be like really insightful for you if you try it out.
2. Learning why these thoughts are distorted. And step 3 is to practice talking back to them so you can develop a more resilient self-image.
So write the thought down in you'll see the way they've got the paper divided in a second, but write the critical or negative thought about yourself down, then challenge that thought of like, what evidence do I have to disconfirm that thought, right? What evidence do I have that this thought is false? And then follow that up by practicing something that's more healthy and positive based on your evidence, right?
To create the table for the triple column technique, you simply draw 2 lines down the center of a piece of paper and divide it into thirds. You label the left-hand column automatic thoughts or self-criticism. You label the middle column cognitive distortion, and then you label the right-hand column rational response or self-defense. In the left-hand column, or the automatic thoughts column, you write down all the hurtful self-criticisms you make when you are feeling worthless and down on yourself. In the middle column, you try to identify and write down the cognitive distortions of your self-criticisms. Cognitive distortions are simple ways that our mind tries.
So you can take a sheet of paper and just divide it into 3 columns and do this, right? Thought, why it's distorted and what evidence that you have that it's distorted, and then something that's more positive and affirming for yourself.
Middle column, you try to identify and write that our mind tries to convince us that something that isn't really true is. These are inaccurate thoughts and are usually used to reinforce negative thinking or emotions. There are 10 main cognitive distortions in cognitive behavioral therapy, and I go into these in much more detail in my video Cognitive Distortions, which I will link here and also in the video description. But here is a quick overview. Mental filtering is when we focus exclusively on the most negative and upsetting features of a situation, filtering out all the more positive aspects of it. All or nothing thinking is when we see things purely in black or white. These types of thoughts are characterized by terms such as...
I know that for a long time I've really struggled with black and white thinking, so I think that's a great one to bring up. Man, it's so common for all of us, right? Oh, I'll never this, or they never that. So that's a great cognitive distortion.
Always, every, or never. Everything is seen as either good or bad, or a success or a failure. Overgeneralization is when we see a single unpleasant incident or event as evidence of everything being awful and negative, and a sign that now everything will go wrong. Individuals thinking in shoulds, oughts, or musts have...
It's like overgeneralization, like if your partner leaves the dirty dishes in the sink. You always do this. You never do anything that I ask. You know, you never listen to me. You don't care about me at all. That sort of thing.
An ironclad view of how they and others should and ought to be. These rigid views or rules can generate feelings of anger, frustration, resentment, disappointment, and guilt if not followed. Emotional reasoning is when we assume feelings reflect fact, regardless of the evidence. The idea here is I feel, therefore it must be true. Such thinking can lead to self-fulfilling prophecies, whereby thoughts can end up eliciting the very behavior we predicted. A person engaging in personalization will automatically assume the responsibility and blame for negative events that are not under their control. This is all.
Yeah, this is an informal poll, so feel free to participate or not participate if you want. How many of you guys struggle, and I've struggled with this for a long time too, as I've realized that I had codependency and have had to work even over the last several months to really overcome it. How many of you struggle with this personalization thing of like taking too much responsibility when negative stuff happens in your life? It's like if a breakup happens, or if you get into an argument, or things don't turn out well, you're just like taking way too much responsibility, right? It's like, this is all my fault, it's all me. And sometimes we don't take a second to realize, like, wait, no, there's only so much ability that I have to affect other people, to affect the world, right? If it rains, I'm not responsible for the rain, right? Maybe you could have forgotten a umbrella, but how much, if it's been completely clear and cloudless, what level of, like, how realistic is it to be like, oh, I should have brought an umbrella, oh, I'm so stupid, I always do this, it's like, yeah, but I mean, it was clear and completely not cloudy at all for like an entire week, and then one day it happened to rain. Like, how realistic is it to beat yourself up about it?
Also called the mother of guilt because of the feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy
and a lot of times that over personalization stuff of like, this is all my fault, I'm responsible for everything bad, is really deep down like a core strong sense of internal shame
leads to. Thinking in a magnifying or minimizing manner is when we exaggerate the importance of the negative events and minimize or downplay the importance of the positive events. Disqualifying the positive is when we continually discount and dismiss the positive experiences we encounter by deciding they are unimportant or don't count. Labeling is an extreme form of all or nothing thinking and overgeneralization. Rather than describing a specific behavior, an individual instead assigns a negative and highly emotive label to themselves or others that can leave no room for change. An individual who jumps to conclusion.
I keep doing this. So, like, example of the labeling. If you're someone that, like, your core self-concept, you label yourself as, I am a failure, or I am socially awkward, right? It's a label. And a lot of times our labels, human beings deep down really desperately want consistency in our lives. And if you've labeled yourself as a failure or as being socially awkward, you're going to do everything in your power to fall in line with that label, even if it's toxic and not helpful to you, right? So yeah, being really careful of the labels you give yourself and realizing that a lot of times that can be a prison that we keep ourselves in. It's a great one to bring up.
Conclusions will often make a negative interpretation or prediction, even though there is no evidence to support their conclusion. It can show up as either mind reading or fortune telling. Once you've identified the cognitive distortion or distortions, we move into the right hand column, which is the rational response.
I love how he literally gives like specific cognitive distortions that you can put in that column. That's actually really cool.
Or self-defense column.
I kind of want to watch that.
This is where you talk back
sometime
and defend yourself against the criticisms. What you're essentially saying here is why this isn't true or why it doesn't matter. With cognitive behavioral therapy, you are learning to use rational, intentional thought between an emotional and an impulsive, self-defeating reaction. In learning to do this, you will develop the habit of testing the validity of your own thoughts and challenging the significance of the negative outcomes of your fears. Let's take an example. Say you're late for something important. You feel your heart beating faster and you start to panic. Ask yourself, what thoughts are going through your mind right now? What are you saying to yourself? Why is this upsetting you? Write these down in the left-hand column.
This was me literally at the start of stream. I was like, oh my god, I'm late. I'm gonna be late for stream. Why didn't I plan ahead? Why was I busy doing this? Why can't I be on time for things? And I had to like stop and be like, okay, it's not the end of the world. People are gonna show up. People are gonna enjoy themselves. Like, it's okay. Like, it's your stream. This is not a job. You don't have to show up right on time. It's whatever, right? So I have to do this stuff too sometimes.
Using the list of cognitive distortions that I outline, try to identify what the negative thought pattern is. So, I'm always late is overgeneralization, for example.
That's me right here.
Then
I have this
the
one
column,
all the time.
You might respond with something rational like, I'm not always late, I'm mostly on time. If I'd like to be late less often, I'll work on developing methods to be more punctual. Maybe I'll leave a bit earlier.
And I think this, I really like this activity because it gets us in a more resourceful space too. Oftentimes people get stuck in this over here and they're just like, I suck. I'm always late. No one's ever gonna love me. You know, I am overweight. I'm lazy. Blah 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 blah. And we just like drown in this pit of crap, and it's so not helpful, right? What's better is being like, you know, I'm not always late. And if I want to do something positive to move myself in a direction of not being late so much, I'm going to do this. So it gets us in a more hopeful headspace, right? Of like, I've got a game plan now. If there's something about myself that I don't like, because we all have insecurities, right? And things about ourselves that we'd like to change. But you want to be compassionate with yourself and try to be positive and hopeful and be like, if I want to work on getting better at being late, I'm going to start to develop a system to help myself be on time more rather than just sitting there and shitting on yourself. So many people get stuck in that. But I love this example.
If you feel you can't think of a rational response, that's fine. Just forget about it for a while, and when you come back to it, you'll be able to think more rationally.
And I would say too, if you actually try this activity, and really seriously, I encourage everyone to try this activity. It's really good. It's really helpful. Do it for like a week straight. All of the negative thoughts. If you're someone that really struggles with your self-esteem, throughout the course of a day, carry around a little spiral notebook or journal or whatever you want to do, blank sheet of printer paper, and as you have a negative thought from a situation that comes in, write it down. I would say if you are someone that can do these two columns, but you really struggle with this one, you can't think of some kind of positive counter evidence, you are someone that really, really struggles with low self-esteem. And I really, really encourage you to keep this activity up and force yourself to start to think of some positive things, but also seek out a therapist, seek out a, mental health coach, reach out, because if you really can't think of anything positive, that means you're in a really rough spot. This activity is great, not only as therapy thing of getting you thinking more positively, but it's also great as a diagnostic tool of like, how low is my self-esteem? If I'm spending all day and this column over here is super long and I can't think of a single positive piece of evidence about myself, probably means you're really struggling. Probably, I'm not going to diagnose anyone on stream. The stream is not a replacement for therapy or getting an official mental health diagnosis, but probably if you struggle with that, it wouldn't be surprising for you to go in and get a diagnosis of depression or anxiety or something like that, right?
An important thing here, though, is not just to put in words that describe your mood or emotional reaction.
I'm so
only
mad
put in
now.
the thoughts that created that emotional reaction in the automatic thoughts column. For example, if we take the running late example again, don't just write, I feel like crap, because that's essentially true, you do feel like crap. This is what we're trying to solve. Instead, write down the thought that led to you feeling like crap. Let's say it was, I will look foolish when I arrive.
So that's a good point too. In this column, try to write down like judgments of yourself. Don't be like, I'm late, this sucks. Write down like, I'm so stupid for being late. I'm always late. I can never be on time. Or I always say the wrong thing when I'm around new people. That sort of thing. Like judgments of yourself is what you want to be writing down on this.
Write that down. Identify the cognitive distortion, which is labeling or fortune telling. Then respond with the rational thought. It may be something like, yeah, it would have been better to leave earlier, but I'm not stupid. Life is unpredictable and things happen. I'm not a fool for being late. Everyone is late sometimes. Burns suggests that working through this simple triple column technique every day for 15 minutes each day, that it will become easier and easier to do. And that this self-defensive
CBT
rational
stuff,
thought
y'all.
will become more and more intuitive for you. It's okay if you're having trouble at first thinking of a rational response. You can always step back from it, or even ask someone else what their answer would be to this particular negative thought.
I love that. I love that idea actually. So if you're doing something like this, and even if you, again, I encourage everybody to like really try this if you struggle with your mental health, because this is CBT and there's a lot of research showing it's very effective. In addition to working with a therapist or mental health coach, if that's the route that you want to go. If you can't come up with something positive about yourself, if you know someone that you love and trust, come to them and be like, hey, today I really struggle with this thought of I'm ugly, I'm always late, I'm not good enough, I suck at video games, whatever. And ask them like, hey, I was really struggling to come up with some kind of positive evidence to counter that thought. Can you help me? I think a lot of times you'll be surprised how other people are like, what are you talking about? You're so good at that game. What are you talking about? You're so attractive. What are you talking about? Man, I ask you for help all the time because you're just so smart and capable and awesome. So not only will it be a great way for you to counter your own negative thoughts, but it will also probably bring you closer to that person as well. So give that a shot.
To summarize, how then do you develop a sense of self-esteem? Well, the answer is you don't have to. You don't have to do anything especially worthy to create or deserve self-esteem. All you have to do is to turn off that critical, arguing inner voice. Because it is that arguing inner voice that is wrong. You can use the triple column technique to really zero in on those automatic thoughts, then write them down. Writing things down can make things tangible, which helps to deal with them. Learning the different cognitive distortions will allow you to go through each of these criticisms and identify the negative thinking. Once identified, you can substitute this distorted thought with a more objective, rational thought. You will then be boosting your self-esteem and you will start to feel better and better. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like or comment below? It really does help the channel out a lot. You might also want to check out some of my other videos and maybe subscribe if you'd like to see.
I might actually watch this guy's videos going deeper into that. Cognitive distortion is actually a thing that you'll learn about in therapy school. So I love this video. So how was that, guys? Was that helpful? Last video to end things on a just fun and positive note. I love Gary V. I'm such a huge fan of his. I cannot tell you guys how fucking long I spent in my life struggling with low self-esteem and trying to address it by chasing accomplishments in life that weren't the things that I cared about. They were shit other people told me I should do with my life, right? How many people in chat watching this are like, man, I feel like I spend my whole life trying to achieve goals that other people set for me in order to feel like other people like me. Man, I wasted so much of my fucking life doing that. So I love Gary V and how he's constantly just preaching about, like, do what you love, do what feels authentic to you. And so we'll finish up talking about self-esteem with his fun little video.
Self-esteem is clear to me at this point in life, which is surround yourself with more positive people, surround yourself with more positive noise. You need to understand that everything that comes into your body, like food, from a communication and energy standpoint, is affecting you. And if you start hanging out with people that want you to win, you will have more self-confidence. Self-esteem is clear to me at this point in life.
It's a very short clip. But, so I think to summarize, and where's my, I used to have a whiteboard. Hold on. Do quick takeaways here. No one, oh good, you guys can't creep on my social media posts in progress. To summarize. Hello, Canva. Are we struggling? I think we're struggling. Fine, we'll just do a small blank thing. To summarize, how do I work on my self-esteem? So, 1, challenge your automatic negative thoughts, right? Squash those ants, right? So, and that's, you know, CBT. You can go see a therapist. They'll help you with that kind of thing. Step 2. So the first one is your thoughts, right? What do we need to change? Our thoughts. Step 2. What else do we need to work on? Our environment, right? So get around healthier people, right? Get around people that want the best for you, not people that are going to bring you down. And 3, this one I'm going to add, we haven't formally mentioned it, but set and achieve goals that are authentic to you, right? So a lot of times we can start to have more self-worth and self-respect and self-esteem for ourselves if we have really meaningful, purposeful goals and we see ourselves working and achieving those things, like working towards them. The more progress we make, we can start to feel better about ourselves. But the caveat is, be very careful, because as we've discussed already tonight, just because you have goals, how should I say this? Don't think that solely by external accomplishment you're going to start to have more self-esteem. So we all know people out there that are massively successful but still really struggle with self-esteem, right? I know people personally in my life, super successful people, make way more money than me, but really, really struggle, massively insecure, really struggle with their self-esteem. So be careful with this one. You want to live a life that's authentic to you, but don't start to chase goals that other people tell you you should pursue in order to get external validation and feel better about yourself. So that's the caveat. But the main things that we want to do is work on improving our thoughts and challenging those negative internal voices. That will go a long way. And then 2, work on your environment, because oftentimes we have these negative internal thoughts ingrained into us from toxic people around us, right? So, and this is super ugly. I'll make a cuter Instagram post, and that'll be up on my Instagram, and we'll also put in the resources section of the Discord, which, time for a shameless plug. If you loved our discussion today and want to see more cool mental health resources, you can feel free to follow me on my Instagram. I'm a relationship and mental health coach. I help people overcome codependency, overcome toxic relationships, save their relationships, and get the love with themselves and others that they've always wanted. And you can also come hang out in the Discord channel. So I post resources from all of the streams inside the Discord channel and the resources section. So come hang out, see resources from past streams, talk about mental health stuff, video games, nerdy stuff, music, all of it. So with that, we are officially 2 hours in to the night, and that will wrap up our topic on self-esteem. How was it? If you learned something new today, put a 1 in the chat. If you're brand new, welcome. Feel free to drop a follow. If you got some value out of this, feel free to subscribe. Subs are always appreciated. And yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up Mental Health Talks for the night. So with that, I'm going to take a short bathroom break, refill my water because it is empty, and then we will transition into games for the night. And we'll do that for the next little bit and then call it a night. So feel free to stick around. As per usual, when we do games, it's also completely open mental health Q&A. So if you want to get some personal advice on stuff going on in your life, feel free to ask. Sometimes when I'm doing the more lecture stuff early in the stream, it can be hard to, derail the entire conversation to talk about a breakup or argument with mom or dad or whatever. surprise stream at some point on Thursday. We'll see. And do maybe like maybe we'll do a return of like the music stream or something. Stream some music stuff. We'll see. Do some chill vibes. What do we need? Any tank other than Malga is wrong. That is how this game is played. Ugh, my chair. Oh, it's so weird. Sorry, I'll adjust myself. I try not to do it in public.
A gun in each hand and a smile
We
on my
must all
face.
find a cause worth fighting for.
Scaredy cat.
I am lagging.
Cats are scary.
4, 3, 2, 1. Round 1. Capture the objective.
What is going on?
Good.
The bloodshed begins.
Scaredy cat?
Oh, let me.
Cats are the scariest creatures of all.
If I die, I'm also gonna hop in the server voice chat for anyone who'd like to come and hang out. I'm just gonna go up top with everyone else.
Enemy here!
That's apparently what we're doing.
On the objective. Be useful and get over here. Hey! That's my objective!